All right, guys, welcome to your Breakthrough You training. I'm your host, Bonnie Kelly. I am so honored and freaking excited today to be talking to the beloved and beautiful Amanda Loveland, who over the last years became a great coaching friend and buddy of mine, but she is truly a master when it is talking about breakthrough you money blocks. So about shifting your relationship to money, shifting the dynamic with money. She is the founder of the Wealth University. She's now changing things up a lot in her business and rebranding. And I'm so excited to hear what's coming up for you and what you're doing. But without further ado, Amanda, you want to introduce yourself to our peeps?
Thanks, Bonnie. I think you've become a dear coaching friend too. And I think that was a really great introduction. I've done a number of things throughout my career as an entrepreneur. The first thing that I really started doing was just building a coaching business, and I built a very successful one. And I started to work on another program, which turned into genuine sales. So I'm very familiar with the concept of making money, whether it be in your business or just through a position that you're in, and doing that in a way that makes you feel really good, not having that yucky relationship with it. And then I turned into really developing the first online school that I had, which is Wealth University. And Wealth University helps entrepreneurs to make plenty of money and feel great about it, making a difference in the world in the way that they want to. And now I'm on to, you say you're excited to hear what's coming next? Me too, Bonnie. Me too.
Yeah, well, and it's a whole new world for you. I mean, it's amazing what you've developed, what you've conquered, and now that you've got that foundation, because that product is there, you know, you're known for that. Now it's really just about spreading your wings and finding something more enriching and fulfilling for yourself. And I know even within my business, I mean, we're constantly striving for that next thing, not in a way of like trying to find something to fulfill anything, but really saying, okay, like now I've completed this. Now where do I want to move with this? And I think that's what you're saying about helping people really connect to that. So you want to elaborate for just a moment on what that means to you?
Which part means to me? Will you say that part again?
Helping people find what their passion is and why that's so important for them.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. You know, this is something that I've coached so many people at this point and also worked with myself. You know, people say that you teach what you need to learn. And I think this has been very true for me. And I'm still very young. And so I have a lot to go. But I think that we have this anticipation that there's one thing we're meant to be doing. There's one thing. And for some people, maybe that is true. But I think the beauty of the world today is that you don't have to just choose one thing. And I do find that a lot of people, when I was teaching live Wealth University courses, that a lot of people were waiting for the perfect thing, the thing they felt called to do, the one thing that they were supposed to do, the perfect product, the perfect package, the perfect brick and mortar, the perfect book they were supposed to write. They're kind of waiting around for the one that felt like it was going to be exciting forever. And I like to look at business ideas or new projects or the thing you're passionate about. I like to look at that as kind of like you're dating and then you eventually get married to something. It's okay to try things out, and it's okay to date things, and it's okay if that relationship lasts 3 weeks, and it's okay if it lasts 6 months, and it's okay if it lasts 10 years, and if it's okay if it lasts a lifetime. But the reality is that along the way, the longer you're with a passion or project or a business, there are moments where it's not exciting anymore, and where you don't really like it sometimes, or there are moments when it feels difficult to show up for it. Or there are also moments when you're really inspired and really excited and you just get this spark and you're like really stoked to be a part of it. It's no different than a marriage. So just because you found something you were passionate about a year ago, number one, doesn't mean you're going to be with it forever. It's okay to change your mind if you so desire to. But I think the other part of it too is understanding that, you know, especially for creative entrepreneurs, one of the main things that I taught on when we were at Wealth University is that when you're bringing something that you're inspired about into the world, you're very literally slowing down its energy, because you're taking it from this really fast, crazy, like in between all the spaces of the universe. You know, it's like moving at a really fast pace. That's why you can't see it in energetic form. And you're literally slowing it down so that you can touch it and feel it. And it's the same with money. It's the same with anything else. So when you're really excited and you're sitting back and you're like, I'm so passionate about this. And then you sit down and you're like creating it, and your energy is like, do, do, do. Like it just totally dies while you're in the middle of it. And that's meant to be there. It's a part of the process of manifesting something, whether it's making money in your business or creating a new project in the world or whatever it is, it doesn't always mean that you're not meant to be with that thing forever.
Yeah.
And if you try some new things and you stick around, you're like, I just don't think this is working anymore. It's okay to move on to another passion. Like, I think it's more important to be curious than it is to be absolute.
Yeah.
Like, way more important to be curious.
Well, and I mean, there's a level of follow through, and I know you'll back me up on this too, because I think a lot of people get lost in the sparkly object syndrome very often, like when it comes into their business, or that comes into, what is it that they want to create, and they come up with an idea, but then something shinier comes around. And so, just to clarify what Amanda's saying, really is that it's choosing an idea, really following through with that idea. But if you find that idea isn't true for you, that you have the ability to be able to shift it into something that's a little bit clearer to you. Now, this is really important when it comes to money. This is really important because I think a lot of people, I know especially in the entrepreneur world, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, Amanda, is that when they get that sparkly object syndrome, like if I just have this next course, or if I just have this next knowing, or if I just have this next thing, that then my money is going to start to manifest, and then it's going to happen. And so they get distracted versus following through on the thing that they agreed to do. So what are your thoughts around that when it comes to attracting money?
So Wealth University, that's the first thing I teach because it's that comment. So for everybody on the line who's like, I just had to change my program, that was the problem.
Yes.
I just had to change the title of the book or the chapters I was going to write, or I just had to change the concept of my business or the way I was going to make money. Like, everybody does it. You're not the only one. It's okay. I do it too. But we at Wealth U, I call it your financial backbone. And whether you're just starting a business or it's something even in your career and in your work, you don't have to be an entrepreneur, or whatever it is that you're starting in the world, or if you don't yet have financial consistency in your business, that's the other thing this applies to. We call it your financial backbone. You're going to pick one thing and one thing only to sell, to make money on, to bring into the world, to figure out how people are reacting to it, not to change the price necessarily, like if it's not working in that way, but just to figure out how you need to talk about it, or how people are reacting, or who is going to buy it. Like, to spend at least 6 months and no less with one idea. If you're a coach, that means one package. That doesn't mean I have a VIP day and I have a one-on-one, I have a group. That means just your VIP or just your one-on-one. If you're an author, it doesn't mean that you're going to figure out how to publish in magazines and publish in books and publish on online blogs. Like, it means you're just going to focus on your book, or you're going to choose one thing and one thing only, and you're going to give it everything for 6 months, or until you've been able to pay your bills with it for 3 consistent months. And for some people, it's way longer than 6 months, but for many entrepreneurs, it's possible within 6 months. So that's why we give them that gauge. You're going to pick one thing until you have financial consistency with it for 3 consecutive months. All your expenses have been covered. You're able to really look at your life and be like, whoa, I'm doing all right. Like, I can write my rent check and not freak out about it. Like, that's really our gauge. And the reason that I tell people to do that is because typically your program is not the product. The thing you're writing about or is not the problem. The product that you're selling is not the problem. It's so many other things. It's how uncomfortable you are about it. It's your mindset about it. It's that you're listening to your doubt when your doubt comes up. That's going to happen. It's a part of the process. Like, when you get negative feedback about it, are you going away from the issue? Do you have money problems where you're spending as soon as you get money in? And I shouldn't call it a money problem because I'm guilty of that too. I'm an entrepreneur, everybody. But do you have money management things that you need to address as well as bringing money in? There's so many things that can happen within that. So making money is not always the problem, but a lot of the times you can't address that until you're consistently making money with this idea. So we ask people to stay committed for 6 months or until 3 months of their bills have been covered.
Right. And so that was, I love that what you were just saying there. It could be a mindset issue. It could be anxiety. It could be doubt. It could be all of these different blocks, right? So when we're talking about money money blocks, like what are some questions? Because I would love to give everyone listen to this practical application, like practical things that they can take away today and say, all right, what can I start asking myself to help me identify what these blocks are? Like, what do you think would be a good question or series of questions that someone can ask themselves to help them identify if it is like a financial issue where they're spending money when they're getting it versus not knowing how to save, or if it's a money block or a mindset issue? What do you think you could say or that you could ask as a series of questions?
What do I think I could say or ask as a series?
Put me on the spot, Amanda. You know that.
Well, I'm trying to think of how this relates to because we said that we would cover these three things, and
yeah.
There's a question that I think relates to that is very applicable to what you're saying, that relates to one of the things we said, which is, you know, what money really represents for people. And and so I think there are a couple of different questions. One of them is,
so if you're write this down.
Yeah, one of them would definitely be, am I willing to stay committed to an idea, or have I jumped around? For some people, they've been persisting over the same idea or the same business or the same project or the same product for like 20 years. Yeah. Like, it might not be an issue, you know? And for other people, it might be that you created a coaching package or you started writing something, and then 3 weeks into it, you know, I'm reading Big Magic right now by Liz Gilbert. And she said that she says in that book, after 3 weeks of writing it on a project, that she knows she's written enough now that 3 weeks in, she's going to lose interest and think it's not a good idea anymore. So she knows it's a part of a process, right? Like, so that's another part of the question. Like, am I willing to stay committed to an idea, or every time that I've gotten negative feedback, or every time that I've gone, you know, and tried to sell it and no one's bought it, have I thrown my arms up and created something else? Like, is commitment the main issue? And for some people it is, and for other people it's not, and that's totally fine. So I think that that's one of the questions. But ask yourself about if you're blocking. But I'm also really big on not necessarily, which Bonnie is brilliant at this, so she's the lady to follow, and I'd love to hear your response to this, Bonnie. I'm also very big on not. I think that for me, that I spent a lot of time, and I do see a lot of people asking why, and there's this hierarchy of questions, everyone. Okay, so like imagine there's this triangle of questions, and at every level of question that you could ask, which I'll tell you what's at different levels here in a second, at every level of asking yourself a question, you'll get an answer at that same vibrational level. So on this hierarchy of questions, there are the high vibration questions that you can ask that attract certain answers to you. And then there are low ones that are going to attract certain answers to you. And at the very lowest level is the question, why? Why is this happening? Why can't I get over this? And so if we really want to ask ourselves, like, what, you know, why am I stopping myself from making money? It's really kind of a useless question. You can go to therapy for years. I can tell you it's probably because you saw your parents do it, or because you think you're unworthy. Like, that's probably why. And like, so just assume it's one of those, and like pick one and be like, that's it, moving on. So why is there? And then comes how. How can I change it? And how can I change it? It typically is a very disempowering question for people, because they look at the way that other people have changed it. They think of the ways they could do it that they don't have access to. Like, how is still a little bit of a disempowering question. And up the scale, there are two very high vibration questions. And one of them is, what can I do with what I do have? And then you insert anything after that statement. What can I do with what I do have? And that's what I think is very appropriate for what money represents. And I'll tell you why in a hot second too. But that question is a key for how you can begin to attract money in your life, or live the life that you want to live, or really feel abundant in any given moment. And the question then, related to what Bonnie is saying, is, what can I do with what I do have to punch this money drama like in the freaking face? What can I do with what I do have to just make this dissipate in front of my eyes? Yeah. And the higher question than that is who. So who do I need to be to punch this money drama in the face? But typically the one that I revolve in, and I suggest other people revolve in, because we understand as physical beings that to do something is to overcome it. We don't quite get the, if I'm just, you know, we like think that being means that if I meditate it away, it'll go away. That's usually not what happens. So what can I do with what I do have tends to put people more in action and like changing it. So what can I do with what I do have to punch this money drama that I've been facing for my entire life or for the last 10 years in the face. So that's the question that I would be asking personally. And I'd love to hear your take on it, because you're brilliant at changing mindsets around.
So, and this is what is fun about Amanda and I being here together, you guys, because we do bring two different aspects of the very same topic together, and helping you guys really recognize that you can have as much money as you want, you can have the lifestyle that you want, and if you don't have it, then that you're in the way of achieving that somehow. Like every one of you on here has a special gift, you have a special talent, you have something to offer this world. And maybe you don't know what that is. Maybe you just work somewhere and you're finding yourself really blocked with that, well, I have to work for someone to make money. You know, when we're asking about this hierarchy, and I love that you have this hierarchy of questions here, you know, it's so powerful, because the answer you do receive is related to the questions that you're asking. Now, on that foundational level of the why, like that to me is one of my favorite questions in getting started into figuring out where your blocks and limitations are. Because without having the understanding of why you're struggling with this, but not in the sense of like, why is this happening to me, right? I like how Amanda's kind of calling out the difference here. Like when we go into the why is this happening to me, that's a victim mentality. And that victim mentality is playing out as a victim role in your finances as well. So what we want to do is ask ourselves, okay, why do I feel this way? Or why am I thinking this way? Or why am I repeating this way? Now, when you can ask a why more specifically like that, now we're going to start getting to these underlying questions and figuring out, okay, how is this attached to me? So for those of you who don't know about me, I teach a lot about the conscious versus the subconscious mind. And so asking the whys is what we're trying to do, is break the barrier between the conscious and the subconscious to really get to the underlying issue. Like Amanda made the joke that could be coming from her parents about like, I'm not worthy of money, I'm not loving, something around that. And she's spot on, okay? I'm going to be real with you. It ties back to some conditioning that you've received in your adolescence or pre-adolescence. And when we can ask that why in a way that is going to get us in touch with that, now we can start to ask ourselves more evolved questions, and these, as she's saying, these hierarchy of questions to get us into the space of really asking ourselves, what can I do different? And really getting you in that place of like the be, do, how model. And I think that, if I'm not mistaken, I first read it with Neil Donald Walsh with Conversations with God, I think is where I first read this. And then I've heard it all over the world. And if you don't know what this is, be, do, have. Where most of us, when we're in business or talking about money or what we want, we actually have the reverse of this model, where it's that I have to have these things to do these things so I can be this person. Well, that's the backwards model that is going to allow you to have the higher vision, the higher connection to why you have money blocks, so you can be more in alignment. We have to reverse it, and we have to begin to be the version, the vision of our limitless money identity. Okay, so how do you be that when you don't have and that you don't do, is that you really have to get into the state of being, which is a mindset. It is a belief pattern. It is a thought, it's a thought circle that you can be something. I can be anything in my mind that I desire to be. So when we can start aligning that, you'll also start to dress, to talk, and to start to really act as if that is true. And that's where the be becomes the do, because then you begin to do the things you need to do so you can have the things you want to have.
Well, when it relates to money too, Bonnie, you and I talked about this the other day, and this is one of the things that we said we would cover, which is like, why I deeply feel like the use of abundance in that word in the personal development world is severely misused. Severely misused. It is used in a way right now when you go on, and I misused it. So this is not shame on the people doing it. Like when I first started Wealth University, I stood amongst these people, and if it were not for my sister coming and working for me, I would still be misusing it. And that is that the use of the word abundance right now is showcased essentially as meaning two things, and that is buying things or having access. Buying things or having access. And so if I'm abundant, and I think this is where it gets misused, is because we begin to say, well, if I'm being someone who has so much money, if I'm being someone who does not have money drama, then I'm buying this thing. I'm saying yes to it. And in some cases, I get that. I definitely get that. And I do think sometimes we need to stretch ourselves. But here's the reality. If you're being the person who doesn't have money drama, if you're being the person who's really bringing in a significant amount of money in your life, you're probably not spending more than you're making. You're probably not doing that. Because that would keep you in the position in the personal development world that says lack. That would keep you behind on things. That would keep you stressed out financially. And so I think that doesn't mean you have to say no to everything, because that's definitely not what I'm saying. But I do think that it means that we have to get wiser about our money. That's abundant living, to actually look at the money we have. Abundance means something different to everyone. To me right now, it means the ability to wander and flee and go wherever the F I want to go, and like not have to be tied anywhere to anything, and not have to go, but I can't because I have a job. Like, that's abundance to me. And that doesn't mean that I'm making $1 million a year right now. That just doesn't mean that. For my sister, it means that she can retire when she wants to retire, and she doesn't have to go, well, I have to work till 65. Like, that's what abundance means to her, is being able to retire when she wants to retire and not have to penny pinch her way there.
Right.
I'm reading that big magic book right now, and I would dare to say that Liz Gilbert's her term abundance would mean that she doesn't have to cripple her creativity to make money for her, that she's allowed to be completely creative and completely free to write what she wants to write, no matter if it makes her money or not. That's what abundance means to her. And so it's not necessarily meaning that you're buying lots of things. For some people, that might be the case. And for some lifestyles, that might be what you desire. But it doesn't mean that it's yours. It took me like 2 years to break up with this concept of buying things, meaning that I was living abundantly. Right. And I really had to step back and evaluate that. So being abundant or being financially in a place where you want to be doesn't always mean that you're just spending money or that you have access. They're not one and the same. And I think that's super important to acknowledge.
Well, I think people, really do need to get in touch with what abundance means for you, because that kind of goes back to that first question. What we really wanted to cover is like what money really represents. What does it represent for you? And what is that going to equal to when you're looking at money and financial freedom? Because, I actually had to learn this lesson. I have a fun story to share with you, Amanda, and I don't know if I told you this, but you guys, when I started on my financial transformation path, right, this money mindset, like I really dove deep into the mindset around money. I grew up in a household where we went paycheck to paycheck. We built everything that we had. Like, we had to chop our wood to make sure we had fire for the winter. Like, we didn't have lavish luxury. We didn't overspend. You can't have that. We don't have enough. That was what was trained and conditioned in me. So if you can imagine, when I started as an adult, what kind of lifestyle do you think I started to attract? Well, barely having enough, only enough to cover the bills, always enough, but just enough, never more than enough. And, when I started to really challenge, all right, Bonnie, what is this, what is it that you want? What do you desire? I started just focusing on attracting all of this money, but I didn't change the underlying foundation of how I handle money. So sure enough, I went from making $13,000 a year to bringing in over $250,000 a year in commissions. And I was living paycheck to paycheck. Now, it's mind-numbing, just absolutely flabbergasting to imagine that someone who came from so limited and not having to be able to have so much and still be broke. Well, the reason why that happened was because, just like Amanda's saying, is that I did not transform how I related to, how I handled. I didn't know how to handle money. Now, once I stopped and started asking those archy of questions, all right, Bonnie, why are you going paycheck to paycheck? You have this ability now to, you have no money blocks, but I didn't know how to manage money. And so now I had a new dimension for me to start to refining and to rebuilding with myself. So as you're listening to this, you got to really ask, do I have a money block issue, or do you effortlessly attract money, but you have a money management issue? Like, where is your block in accordance? Because
it's still a money block in so many ways. It's still a money block. It's like which is very much like everybody, I teach this because I need to learn it. Like, I'm not saying like, you should work on this. I'm saying, well, But it's a money block issue too. It's like our willingness, because I have a very similar story, Bonnie, and it's like, it's our willingness to have more than we need. Yeah. It's like how we relate to that. It's how we're conditioned to work with money, and it doesn't matter. Wealth University saw so many students, like we became known in so many ways for helping people pass the 6-figure mark. That's like what the little, the word behind the scenes was about Wealth University, is that it helped so many people to pass the 6-figure mark. And I cannot tell you how many people passed that 6-figure mark and then had to make more money. Yeah. In 6 months. Like the course was 6 months. So it wasn't like they passed $100,000 in the first 12. It was like after 6 months, they were like, you can't leave me because I'm broke now. Like and I was stepping back, and we ended up having to add a final module that was like, okay, this is the problem. Like that's not why I was trying to help you. I wasn't trying to help you just make money so it could all go away. So it's still all like a money block of sorts. But I think too, this is not like a money block or a money problem for people. This is something we can all get better at.
Right.
No matter what stage we're at. Yeah, no matter what stage of the game we're in, it's not just about attracting more money. It's about loving, respecting, appreciating, and utilizing the money that we have.
Right. And so if you're one of the people, I'm going to be honest with you, like if you're one of those people that are struggling with attracting more money, okay? Because I feel like that more than anything is one of the questions that I receive a lot of times. Well, Bonnie, like you have this, you have a 6-figure, coaching practice. Like, how did you build this? How did you, and I say, it's like I had to step into being a 6-figure coach, right? I really had to step into that place. And now I'm working on what it feels like to step into a 7-figure coach like mindset. And this is a whole new up leveling for me. So, I don't care if you're just starting off and you're like, well, I would just kill to be a 6-figure person in my practice or whatever. It doesn't matter if you're shifting the dynamic from a 6-figure to a 7-figure or multiple 6-figure, the transformation really has to come into really that deep self-reflection. And then what are you going to do to begin to start moving this? So, Amanda, I know we have one more thing that we really want to cover, and it's overcoming the fear of both success and failure. So I would love to hear you talk about that, and then we can actually open it up for a few people for questions and really see maybe we could do some quick laser coaching on other people's blocks as well. Does that work for you?
Ooh, I'm going to answer this so fast because I want to do that so bad. Okay. Okay, yes, absolutely. I think it very much relates to what you were just saying, Bonnie, which is like if I'm a person who wants to be, and I've heard multiple people say that, 6 figures is easy. And I think that it's a different gauge for all different people. For me, 6 figures was fairly easy, but I think it just came at a time in my life where I do well under pressure, and I had pressure. I don't know what to tell you about my face. Like, I don't know exactly why it happened for me when it happened for me. But I think one of the biggest things that I watch people go through Wealth University is, I had to really tell people, like, stop being scared to ask people. Stop being scared to tell people you can help them. Like, why would you be afraid to say to someone, I think what I do could help? Right. And if they say no, they say no. But like, why would you try to, I've seen so many people like dance around the issue or dance around the topic or try to like, hey, do you want to get coffee? Or hey, how are you on a Facebook Messenger? Instead of just being like, listen, I've seen your life. I know you, personally, or hey, I've just heard different things about you, or I ran into you at the grocery store and we talked for 1 second. But I just think that something sparked for me, and I think that I might be able to help you. Do you want to talk about that? And like just engaging in conversations, and that for people is horrifying. And I think it would be easy for someone to look at me or look at Bonnie and say, well, you're extroverted, or you're really social, and I would not say that I am normally. I would say that I try to hide with all my might on the majority of situations, hence my building an online business instead of a brick and mortar. So like, I wouldn't say that it's normal for me, but I really had to for myself, because I didn't come from a family with a lot of money, and I was dedicated by the age of 16 to working in not-for-profits my entire life. Like, I thought they were the end all be all. Like, I volunteered for them. I gave my life to them. Like, every moment I got permission to not be in high school anymore so I could go and volunteer, and not like, I was just like, these are amazing. And I had to face the reality of that decision once I got through volunteering and went to school to be able to manage them, and thought I'd be the CEO of a not-for-profit and started working for them in paid positions and stepping back and going, whoa, shit. Like, the ones that are making a massive impact are managing a lot of money, and they're managing it really well. And I thought I was getting into that world because I could avoid that whole topic altogether. Like, I was just like, it'll just go away and I'll never have to think about money. And I had to face that reality that those, that they're still channeling through a lot of money in order to make a massive impact in the world. Not saying it's dependent on such, but that is the world that we live in now. And so I had to face that reality and really step back and go, okay, so how does that apply now? Am I going to go out in the world and am I going to do this for myself, and really convince myself and just step back and say, in order for me to make a difference in the world, I'm going to have to sell at some point.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to have to stop perfecting my package and stop rewriting copy and stop convincing myself that I need a website and stop posting on social media and just effing tell people I think I can help them directly and ask if they're interested in. And once you do that, that's the thing at Wealth University that I think most people didn't anticipate and don't anticipate now, is that they thought that they would come in and they would learn all these marketing strategies. And my first advice, we go through the financial backbone training, like I was saying earlier, and then I say, okay, go tell people directly. Go tell them directly that you can help them and set up sales conversations. People go, well, I don't know what to say on a sales conversation. I don't feel like the product is completely made yet. What if I don't have anything to sell? What if they don't like the price? I need to be prepared for all these things. And there's this really beautiful story that I love about Bob Proctor. He got on an airplane one time and he was sitting down, and this couple was sitting like in the seats next to him, and they were like, oh my God, you're Bob Proctor, you're Bob Proctor. For those of you who are not familiar with Bob Proctor's work, he's in the personal development world. I've studied with him a few times. I think the man is brilliant, and he's a little more practical.
He's absolutely been teaching for 30, 40, 50 years in the wealth management space.
Yeah, he's a little more practical. Yeah. So I was actually really surprised to work with him because he is like a really intuitive man. But his work in the world is really practical, which I think is really great for those of us who are like, ah! And I really love his stuff. And he tells this story about this couple who was sitting next to him. They're like, oh my God, you're Bob Proctor. Hi, we have a question for you. And they go on to explain to him that they found this house that they love and adore, and it's everything they've been dreaming of. And during this plane ride, they ask if he can offer his expertise to help them figure out how they can buy it. And so he says, yeah, no problem, absolutely. When did you sign the papers on the house? And they were like, we didn't sign papers. We don't have the money yet. We can't sign the papers. And I will never forget when I heard this story, because I think it's so brilliant. He goes, why the hell would you have to make the money if you haven't signed the papers? Yeah. And I think it's very true in business. That's a scary big move for me to even think about. That's like a whole nother level of thought process. But I think it's very appropriate for what we're talking about now, which is if you really want to get to that 6-figure mark, or maybe you just want to get to $12K a year. I coach people who are like, if I make $12K a year in my business, like, I love my job. If I made $12K a year in my side business, that'd be amazing. Like, I don't care what your number is. But in order to do that, if you want to achieve that, like, you have to put your name on that effing house. Like, you're going to have to say, I set up this sales call with you because I think I can help you. We're meeting on this date. And guess what? You're going to have to figure out what to say in the sales conversation. You're going to have to figure out what to charge. You're going to have to figure out what contract to make. You're going to have to create the first PDF that explains the program if you haven't done it. You're going to have to do that. Right. And if you're on a whole other level and you're at the 6-figure mark and you're going to the 7, it's no different. It's just with different people. It's just that you might be doing it from a group and on stage instead of doing it to one person at a coffee shop. That's all it is.
Right.
And so whatever it is that you would like to get to your next level, you have to tell people about it. You have to engage people in conversation about it, because the more you try to perfect the website copy, the branding, and all this stuff behind the scenes in your social media posts,
I was just talking to my husband about this as well. It's a form of hiding, right? Is that when you're really brilliant at maybe doing content or doing the web or things like that, when you're getting faced with a challenge that is maybe like sales or telling people about what you do, that you're going to go retreat to the easiest form of whatever it is that's productive in your business. And so you'll go do these productive things that are not getting you to that next level because that's the safe place for you to go. And one of the things I got to point out of what Amanda is saying here, you guys, that is so essential, and it took me a long time to really get to this truth, is that money needs a purpose. So when you're attracting money, like the reason why Bob Proctor in this story is saying that, did you put your name on the house? No, why are you trying to attract money when you have nothing to put the money to? The money needs a purpose. So every time I'm up leveling in my business or up leveling with myself, is that I have to give my money a purpose. And so like, for example, this month alone, I am closed out. Like we'll be bringing in like $65,000 in sales this month alone. Okay. So that's what I'm closing out between my two businesses, about $65,000 in sales. And when I really stopped to think about that, I had to say, okay, where do I need money? And the reason why I'm attracting that much money is because I have a purpose for all of that money. My husband and I are going on a 14-night vacation somewhere. That's a big chunk of the money, right? I have new savings goals and retirement goals and all of these things that I have set forth to myself. So I've given purpose for the abundance to flow in. And so because I've signed my name on the dotted line for these different things that I've agreed to, now the money can come in to be able to fund these different aspects of my life. So I love that you pointed that out, Amanda, because it's so powerful, that if you don't have a purpose for the money, other than to go spend it on this new car or new whatever, then the money's not going to come. So we have to think about what is your savings, like what is your savings bundle, right? Like how much money do you want to have in your savings account? How much money do you want to have in your business account? How much money do you want to have? And then you got to think about the other foundational pieces. Do I need to pay taxes on that? How much does that cost me? Because you will financially sabotage yourself when you attract all the money, but you spent all the money, but you didn't plan for the money in the ways that you need to, so that way you don't have success, right? Sabotage is sneaky. Like it's going to show up in a lot of different ways. Take it from the woman who got her ass kicked in taxes 2 years in a row. Because
that's a big one. Yeah, that's a big one for a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I attracted a new level of financial freedom in my life. And I was like, oh my gosh, so excited. I had purpose for that money. But then it wasn't until I sat down with my CPA that I was like, I had no idea I attracted that much money. Oh shit. And so then we had to attract a bunch more money to be able to pay that tax man. So you really want to find out different ways that you can accidentally sabotage your financial set point as well. So the other thing, so one last thing, I know I'm on a rant here, Amanda, but I wanted to make sure one last thing you said is the other thing that Amanda pointed out here as well is that your willingness to tell people what you do. We get afraid, especially when it comes to our friends or people that are in our sphere. We don't want to come across as salesy, or we don't want to come across as, that we're pushy or any of these things. Well, for the goodness sake, you're not. I want you to think for a moment about a business that you're passionate about, okay? One of my favorite airlines, I love Southwest Airlines. I really do. I just like how easy they are, efficient they are. I just got 4 free drink coupons in the mail yesterday. I was like, hell yeah, right? And I'm like, I don't even know why. I'm just grateful. But I love this company. So when people are talking, I'm like, oh, dude, you got to get the Southwest credit card because I get a free flight every year. I pay it off every month. I use it, pay it off. Now, I sell the shit out of that company and I have no problem. Why? Because I'm detached from it. But now you want to apply that same methodology of how easy it is to sell something you're passionate about to selling what you're truly passionate about, which is whatever services, whatever gifts you have to offer. I want you to just apply the same mindset to both. And I think that's what Amanda's doing.
And I'll take that one step further too and just say, because I taught genuine sales for a really long time, and I found that people are salesy and they are spammy and they are gross when it comes to their sales process when they think there's a right way to sell, and then they try to go about that, or they're like dancing around their ability to help someone because they don't want to overstep a boundary, or they don't want to make someone uncomfortable, or they don't know what their financial situation is, or they do, and so then they think that they wouldn't buy or something like that. So I find that people are I think that the best sales tool that you can use is vulnerability, and
Yes.
that if you're making
Authenticity.
a phone call, yeah, that if you're making a phone call, for example, to someone you met at a networking event last week or whatever it is, or an accountability buddy that said they needed help with something and that you could help them if you were in a business relationship, the first thing to say is, I feel like super, whatever it is that you're feeling like, I feel really awkward about this because we're best friends and I'm worried that it might affect our relationship, but I also feel compelled to say, I think I could help if we were in a business relationship. So can we talk about that? Like, are you open to it? And that's a key question that I teach, especially when people are just getting started, because it is different at different levels. But when people are just getting started, or they're still at a place where maybe they feel like they're financially not providing for themselves in their business, is asking that question before you enter into any sort of sales conversation. Because I think we go one of two ways, which is we hide from the sales opportunity, or we vomit it all over people because we just, that's the only way we know how to do it. And so I find that if you're just vulnerable with the people that you think you could help, and then you say, are you open to talking about that? Like, is that something that you're open to hearing? Some people might say yes, and some people might say no, but I found for me, because I still am, I shouldn't say that I was, like, I still am on many levels uncomfortable selling myself or selling my stuff, because I wouldn't say it's my natural tendency. I'd say I'm an awesome coach and an amazing speaker on stage, but I'm not the best salesperson. Like, I'm decent and I make it work, and that's okay. FYI to everybody who's like, I should probably become a best salesperson of my business. And if I'm not a best salesperson, then I'm going to fail forever. Like, no, you're not. It's okay to be a shitty salesperson as long as you're trying. As long as you're trying. And I can relate to that, which is, I don't feel like a great salesperson, but I do feel like I'm vulnerable with people. And if I do think I can help, I ask if people are open to that. Yeah. And there's no right sales process. The reason we feel like spammy or sleazy or gross is because we're dancing around the issue. That's what I found.
And I agree with that as well. And you guys, it's just about getting comfortable and really assured in what it is that you have to offer for people. Because I know, I love sales. I'm gonna be honest, like, I fucking love it. I love the challenge. Like, I love the, So, like, if I'm being, honest or authentic about it, I don't know what happened right here, or how this, like, who's sharing the Zoom? Like, what happened? That's not even me. Like, how does somebody even do that? Somebody took control of my computer. Can you guys hear me at all?
So whoever it is logged off, so we can't see. Whoever it is logged off, so she doesn't know that it's happening.
Okay, well, all right.
She's trying to get back in, though, so let's let her know. I think her name is Doris.
Doris, yeah. So, let's see. Yeah, they have control. Anyways, yeah, so I'm like, somehow they took control of my thing. And I don't know how that completely happened, but we're totally like, can you see my face at least, Amanda?
I can, over on the right side of my screen.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Give me.
Maybe is Cassie in the meeting right now?
I think Cassie's in here. Yeah, Cassandra, are you?
Here we go. You're back.
Okay. I don't know what happened. No, I still think we're on her computer. Cause mine is. Wait, here it is. Doris declined my request to take control. Oh my gosh, Doris.
Cassie, if you're in here, will you email her? Email the girl, like, find the one that registered.
Yes, I can get a hold of her.
She totally took control of my screen, and I don't know how to get it back. I don't even know how it happened.
Doris is destined to be a speaker about money mindset.
Yes. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. Well, let's see here, you guys, for just a second. Let's talk about, Amanda, I wanted to do some live coaching with you really quick. The only problem is I don't know how to take control of this. I don't know how to take control of my screen yet. So.
I do see that the chat box is working. So I guess we can start by, everyone, if you have access to your chat box, type in your questions, and
that works perfect. Yeah, let's start with that. So if you guys have a question, put it in the chat box. I stole it. I got it back. I don't know how it happened, but I stole it back. Mine. Oh my Lord. You guys, I'm glad is anybody else getting a kick out of this. All right, so if I can physically see you, you can raise your hand, or you can *2 to raise your hand, or you can unmute yourself in the bottom left corner of your computer screen. If you want to ask a financial or a money mindset or a limiting belief question around money to Amanda, get some quick coaching, now's the time to do that. You can type in the chat box. Leo, love it. You are on.
For the opportunity.
You are unmuted.
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. There's one point that got my attention that you said, or one of you two guys said that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to, and specifically you, Bonnie, you said it's okay to be authentic. I love that. But about being vulnerable, sometimes in a salesy environment, it can come back and bite you. Mm-hmm. So how do you address that?
Do you have a specific situation that you're thinking about, or are you just talking in general?
No, I don't have a specific situation. I'm just wondering because I am very interested in getting in the sales field. I come to the realization that I will never ever succeed in my career if I don't get out of a paying job or a paycheck. So I really want to get into something that is either my own or some product of somebody else's, but I will be in a sales position where there's really room for growth. And so I work with a lot of commercial real estate brokers, and they are all A-type, very aggressive, very much into the sales mentality and building relationships. And so I've been soaking that slowly over time, and it is my time. I got to do this. And I am really excited about this and really want to move forward with it. But I've been categorized, quote unquote, as a softy. Okay. And so maybe.
Is your name Leo?
Yes.
Leo, what's up?
Yeah, but Bonnie said it right. I go by Leo.
Leo. Okay. So.
You got it.
I was going to say, I would not. Soft, like you can use that word if you want to, but I was going to say if everyone's like aggressive in type A, then people are going to work with you because you're excited and authentic and genuine. Like that's the vibe that I catch from you. But I do see where you're coming from. I do see where like sometimes that could come off as weakness, especially for men. Sometimes it's taken off as weakness. So when I say vulnerable, like I would say that I'm a slightly more vulnerable person than people like are used to. I'm usually just like, here's everything. Look at it all. Like, that's just me. Like, I think the first time Bonnie and I met on Skype, I was like, I'm in my pajamas because it's that kind of day. Like, this is me, Bonnie. Just like, I'm having a day. All right. Like, that's who I am. But that doesn't mean that vulnerability looks the same way on you. That doesn't mean that it looks the same way on you. So yours might be, especially for women who need to work with real estate agents, they might not love aggressive people in that role. So that might be your greatest benefit in working with the female audience or working with men who just don't give a fuck about being aggressive because it's not entirely super successful. Like that might be your greatest thing, but you're genuine, you're vulnerable, you're authentic, doesn't have to look like mine. Does that make sense? If you were going to tell me, because I this is the first time we've met, like secretly we haven't been dating behind the scenes or anything. So like if you were to tell me 3 things about you that like make you, what would you say those 3 things are?
I would tell you that I look out and try to keep things in the positive lens. So I am optimist. What else can I tell you? I enjoy being around people. Mm-hmm. It's one of the things that rewards me and brings me a lot of energy and recharges me. And I'm a techie. I love technology. There you go.
Okay, so I think that's what you should lead with in your sales conversation. So you say, I have to be honest about who I am because I'm not a typical real estate person. I'm insanely optimistic. If something really shitty happens, I'm not going to call you and think it's the worst thing in the world. Like, I'm going to look at the bright side, and that irritates some people. So if it's not for you, it's not for you. I also love to be around people. So it's probably one of the greatest things that you're going to offer the relationship. And I think you should say that. Like, I'm always going to be around people, and I'm always going to be talking about this because I'm not massively introverted. Like, I don't have to take 14-day alone times like Amanda Loveland in order to recharge to get used to it. Like, I love people, so I'm going to be out in the world and I'm going to be talking about it. And, you know, that's going to be a massive benefit to this relationship. And in addition to that, in addition to loving being around people, people love to be around me because I'm easy to talk with. And I'm not this giant, I'm aggressive and I get shit done kind of person. Like, people like to be around me too. And then, you know, what was the last one that you said?
I'm a techie. I love technology.
That's amazing. That's brilliant. So you're going to figure some shit out that I sure as hell don't understand. Like, I think that that's amazing. And that might be your vulnerable, is just being willing to be different in that industry.
So what I'm getting from you is that I should, right off the bat, right as soon as I meet a new person or a new relationship, I should just express that immediately.
Yeah. So I guess in my mind,
Okay.
tell me a normal situation where you might meet a potential client, for example, so I can
Sure.
better imagine this. Would it be like a networking event that you would meet somebody at? Would it be just
Yeah.
Okay. So if you meet somebody in that networking event, I would say that you shouldn't, and this is for everybody on the line, FYI, whether you're a coach or you're in real estate or you're in network marketing or just whatever field you're in. When you're meeting someone at a networking event or something like that, like, I'm not normally like, hey, so I'm different because I swear a lot and I don't really care. Like,
you just are. You just be, right?
Yeah, like, I am the way that I am. And if I seem to click with somebody, then I say, I'd really love to talk with you more about it if you're looking for someone in that field. And when you have that conversation, whether it's right outside the door or it's at the coffee shop the next day or it's on the phone a week later, you can say, I feel like I know myself as someone in this role. And I just want to let you know why I think that I'm maybe more valuable than someone else you might talk to.
Okay.
I think it's because
Is that the elevator pitch or your value proposition that you're about to say at that point?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on everybody. Like, I don't really have an elevator pitch just because
Neither do I. Okay, I don't have an elevator. Okay, they have one scripted somewhere because someone told me I needed one, and I have never used it.
Yeah, like, I mean, that's up to everybody though. Like, if you feel more comfortable for everybody on the line, for like, well, I wouldn't even know what to say, like, then have one. There's no right way to do this. Put on a note card and read it. Like, that's how I did my very first like workshop thing. So I was like, bullet points, whatever, like, do your own thing. But the way that I teach it, Leo, is that I say, if you're going to sell anything or you think the relationship might work, you should always share what your outcomes are before you share the details of how a relationship would work. And so the outcomes are sometimes your elevator pitch. Like, I help people too. That's what I love about my work. And then you can talk about the differences, and then you can see how you're different than someone else and if you're the right fit. And you can literally
that is the elevator pitch. The outcomes is the elevator pitch.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you can talk about whether or not it's the right relationship by sharing what's unique about you. And then you say, and the relationship would look like this. Does that help?
Okay. I personally have this sort of anxiety and fear of rejection. Okay. And so because of it.
And you're wired with it. So I'm sorry about that. I'm really sorry. It's a common male fear. So just know that it's not just you, but keep going.
So, and then it's not going to always work with every single one that I meet and whatnot. But I guess in terms of, money and attachment to money, how do you relate that, or how do you separate those two things?
You know, I'm reading this book, Big Magic, and she talks about it one way, and then I can share how I kind of look at it too. And I really love the way she looks at it because she talks about feeling detached from the outcome of things. So Liz Gilbert is the author, and she says that in it, she believes that there are ideas that are floating around in the world, and they are separate bodies from herself. And every once in a while, an idea and her will hit each other and come into being. And she'll get asked this question, like, from the idea, are you going to take me out in the world? Like, you as a human, Liz Gilbert, are you going to take me out in the world? And she has to decide whether or not she's going to do it. But the way she looks at it is that idea is only with her until the idea is complete, and then it leaves her. And so it's the idea's outcome. It's the idea's acceptance or rejection from the world. It's not her own. She embodied the idea long enough to help it be in the world, and then she let it go. And I really love that way of looking at it, because the truth is, and we said that this is a part of the call, success and failure, they're both going to happen. Like, I guarantee it, for everyone on this call, you're going to be rejected and you're going to be accepted. And the more people who know about what you do, you're going to hear more hate about what you do. I'm not telling you this because I don't like you, Leo. Like, I'm going to be one of the people who accept you and love you and tell you that you fucking rule. Like, I'm going to be one of those people. And that's why it's important to have people like this who do feel that way about you. Because
so how do you address those that don't? Because there will be a bigger number putting you down.
Yes.
How do you let it rub off?
Yeah, so that's where it's everybody like to each their own. What Liz Gilbert says is she doesn't take the blame or the credit. She gives it all to them. So she separates herself from both.
I like that.
Right? And that's beautiful. I think for me, I've, especially over the last couple of years, I've had major business failure, and I've had to develop tougher skin. Like, that's the way that I'm approaching it. And everybody can do it differently. Like literally not accepting blame or not accepting credit is fucking brilliant. I love that.
That's brilliant.
and for me, it's that I want to hear both. And so I'm just doing it a different way. And I'm sure Bonnie would have some brilliant advice too about how she does it. I'd love to hear what Bonnie thinks about this, but it's not necessarily that you have to listen to either, but it's also not that, like, both sides don't have to dictate what comes next for you or how you feel about yourself, okay?
Yeah, and actually what's interesting
Thank you.
Kathy just put this in the chat box, and it's almost identical to what I was going to say, Leo. And, I think it is in the Navy SEALs, they have a mindset that says embrace the suck. And what they're talking about is that sometimes your life sucks, right? And they say embrace the suck, because that means that
embrace the suck. I love that.
We can't live in a life of all butterflies and rainbows, right? We live in a very, the black and the white and the yeses and the nos and the ups and the downs, right? And it's about recognizing that those sucks, right? Those not having, like when you run up against the wrong kind of clients or you get rejected, instead of it meaning or being attached to your self-worth, right, that you suck or that you're not enough, start to ask, like,
it's not about me,
right? What could I do differently? How can I respond differently? What, use it as an opportunity. So in science, and this is what I love about this, so, in science, they have an algorithm for what is considered the fail rate, not the success rate, the fail rate, which means that if we're going after the cure of cancer, that they're going to go to donors asking for billions of dollars based on the number of times they expect to fail, because they know that each failure leads them closer to
get you closer.
Right? And so when we start to embrace the suck, okay, and I'm doing quotes for you guys who are not seeing me. What I mean by that is that we begin to accept and recognize that rejection and failure and mistakes, these things are going to happen. But when we can use them as an opportunity to level up, to grow, to evolve, that we begin to have a different relationship with those things. Now, the other side of this is something Kathy put in the chat box here. And she says, talk about the listening to the ones who like you and the ones who don't. So the other thing is this, is that you have to come into this mindset of stop trying to sell to everyone. There are people who are not going to like the way you sell. There are people that don't like Amanda's style. There are people that don't like Bonnie Kelly's style. And that's okay, because they're not who I'm talking to. We, like me and one of my buddies, Ryan Yakomi, we have a joke about you're not making it until, you get hate mail.
You fake it.
And until you get hate mail. And then we send each other these hate mails. Like, we're just like, oh, that was a good one. And we laugh about it because they're attacking how we look. They'll attack the way that we speak, or about how pitchy our voice is, or about how Ryan's hair looks. And we joke with each other. We're like, well, we found who doesn't like us, right? And we just found one client who doesn't. But Look at how many thousands of people that we do find who do like us. So quit trying to sell to everybody and sell to the one, and just sell to the ones that are in that alignment. Know that you will attract those right vibrations, those right people that fit your needs, and start to affirm it. My affirmation this year is that I am a magnet. I am a magnet that effortlessly attracts people who can see, hear, and feel and know that my methodology is true for them. And I have affirmed it, and I believe it, and it has been effortless making money this year because my ideal clients are just like, bloop, 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 popping up like left and right, okay? So I really, really want you to hear that. Now, you guys, we are right at time. Kathy, you're welcome for a thumbs up. Amanda, last words. I mean, Leo, did we get you? Are you good? Feeling good?
Yes.
Good.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. So Amanda, let's get some last words. What final thoughts or final, words of wisdom do you want to offer our tribe today?
Oh, sweet Jesus. Well, thanks for being here. It would be my very first one. Like, what an honor and a privilege to be here both with Bonnie and with her tribe, and also just awesome people who are interested in this training. Thank you. I would say probably the best thing that I can give you during this training or any other one is that it's not about doing it perfectly. It's about asking what the next step is that you could do with what you do have, whether it's making money or making a sale or working on a different project that's completely not money related at all. So just keep asking yourself that question, like, what's the next thing I could do? Not what's the thing I could do perfectly in the whole thing. Yep.
Yeah. As words of wisdom, you guys. And if you want to check out Amanda Loveland, you can find her. Are we still going to AmandaLoveland.com? Like, I know you got hacked, so where are we going?
Yes, you can still go to AmandaLoveland.com. It's currently, it's a temporary site. Just lets you know we're on business timeout while we get some things figured out. But you're still welcome to come there. There's resources when you arrive. Absolutely.
Yeah, so you can connect with her on social media. That's another wonderful place. That's actually originally how I was able to get in contact with Amanda. You can find out more about me by going to bonniekelly.me. That's not .com, it's .me, because it's all about me. I'm just joking, but that's the easiest way to remember. It's .me. If you guys have any questions for either Amanda or myself, you feel free to connect with us on social media. Feel free to email us. We're here for you every step of the way. Thank you so much for joining us on this breakthrough training. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the flip. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.